the only challenge I think I've come into, and it's on refinances, was for the appraisal. Like, some people just don't want appraisers in their home. And I've just one situation now where the guy's doing a cash out refinance and he does not want the appraiser in his home. But for a cash out refinance, we have no option for him. Like, the appraiser still has to go out to the home. That's the rule that's been put into place by Fannie Mae. But as far as me, I mean, luckily, I have not been impacted as far as my daily job. I mean, yeah, it's slowed down for sure. But as far as me doing my daily job and reaching out to people and talking to people and doing pre-approvals and applications, that for me hasn't really changed at all. And I've not bumped into really any obstacle.
Tim, two things. So obviously you can still take applications through your app. And is there another platform available?
On my email signature, there's a link that people can click on to take the application. But I'm always available, right? I don't really push that too much because I've had one or two instances where people have clicked on that link to try to do an application, and it's not a pleasant experience, to be completely honest. So I'm always available, and if I get a call to call somebody, I stop what I'm doing and make that.
We've been fortunate enough to work on many deals over the past, especially in the past month since this has started. And this particular situation was not with you, but with another Weichert financial mortgage advisor just last week. We were actually in the closing, right? Somewhat of a virtual closing, if you will. And it was a husband and wife, and the wife had been laid off the day before.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah.
And she informed us at the as we're going through all the documentation. Now, fortunately, it was the Weichert family of companies, and we were able to sort of put the closing on hold for just a few minutes, literally about 20-25 minutes, line up the documents that we needed to get. The mortgage advisor made some changes. Again, our processing team, talking with the two teams, being able to communicate immediately in real time, got it done in about 25 minutes.
So they qualified without her income, I assume?
Yeah.
No.
So, my point is, when we have our family of companies together and one of our preferred attorneys, and the attorney kind of the attorney was the only one in the room with the buyers, right? Everything was being done somewhat virtually, and the attorney did a great job of keeping everybody calm. Everybody was scratching their heads for a second saying, okay, how are we going to get this done?
Mm-hmm.
But we were able to work together and get it through it. I'll give you the other side of the coin. We had a situation last Wednesday. I had 3 closings where on the seller's side, Wells Fargo was involved. I don't know if they had a glitch, their system was down, whatever. I think you were involved in one of them.
I was involved in one of them,
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So we had 3 closings where, and the one you and I were involved with, we were able to remedy with about 8 minutes to go before the closing, right? That was a 2:00 closing, and inside of 10 of, all of a sudden we got the documentation. But the 2 other ones that day, we closed without dispersing the seller's funds because we could not verify the amounts. Like, even though there's a preliminary, right, we still need the final, and we do the final rundown the day before and the morning of. We could not get documentation as to the amounts. So now the next day, Wells Fargo was back up and running, and we dispersed the funds. Had that been Weichert Mortgage, Weichert Financial, we would have been able to disperse the funds and do what we need to do. So just keep in mind that in today's world, more variables than ever have crept into the process, and certainly even as we get to closing. So any other takeaways, Tim, that you'd like to leave with the team?
No, just real quick. So just to touch on that too, I've changed my process in the fact that I'm asking the question way ahead of time. So I'm trying to be ahead of any job loss or income reduction, because I mean, it's inevitable. It's happening out there. So at the time the commitment is issued, I'm asking our clients for contacts at their employer and just asking the right questions. And do you know of anything coming down the pike? Are you about to lose income, possibly your job furloughed? So I'm just trying to be ahead of it to deal with it sooner than, at the closing table.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for all your help. Okay,
Yep.
Susan. Jason,
Um,
you want to, there you go.
so basically, insurance too, working with all of you, has just pretty much business as usual. I have not seen anything change in any way. Still here working every day out of my office, speaking to all of your clients. Everything is going smoothly, probably because I'm working very closely with both of you. But besides that, as far as the insurance companies that we work with, they are also offering delayed payments, so clients will not receive cancellations. There are 2 of our 26 insurance companies that are not offering that. And John Mahoney sent us all an email letting us know that we can no longer quote them unless they fall in line with the others.
Great.
So we're all on board together making it happen, so no one will find themselves without their auto insurance or without their homeowner's insurance due to loss of a job during this COVID crisis. So that's a good positive. And other than that, I'm here all the time. I'm available to all of you at any given time. You know that before this crisis and during that, no matter what, my phone is available to you. I answer it, I help. And if there's any questions outside of this group, you can always call me personally and ask me. And I'm just grateful for all of you. And I'm just hoping that you all stay healthy. And, I'm here. I don't know what else to say other than that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Susan, can you tell me a little bit about how the forgiveness piece or the late payment piece goes? Does it get tacked on to the remaining months? Does it?
Each individual carrier has a separate, and I have a file this thick of each of their conditions. But to summarize, most of them are offering 60-day forgiveness. When it gets paid, I'm not sure exactly because each one is specific. But there's 60 days minimum, so it's kind of a nice thing.
So if somebody's in a position or has a client in that position, they should call their insurance carrier individually and ask what the procedure is?
Well, they can also call me, and I can give them the details on each individual carrier, and I will forward that information to them to their email, so they're not, they don't even have to waste. I can help them with that, so they don't need to make the call.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bob Nish is kind enough to join us this morning. Bob, it's always a pleasure to see you and be with you. We appreciate all you do for our agents. And if you'd be kind enough to give us some of your insights into the present environment.
Okay, happy to be here. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Things are getting close, which is what you referred to. It's just a little more challenging to get everybody on the same page and to get the documents signed. So what we're finding that I think is a concern to some of the agents is you have to really look when you're making an offer or accepting an offer at the buyer's financial situation in terms of, are they going to have their business closed? So we've had a couple of dealings recently where self-employed people, restaurateurs, nail salon people who are applying for mortgages, the government shut down their businesses, so that affected their ability to proceed with the transaction. And we're trying to come up with creative ways of assuming that they've provided some type of cash asset thing to accept a cash payment and the seller take back a mortgage on the property. But everybody's trying to be creative to get the deals done. Most of our transactions with your office is going to be Morristown, Morris Township. And there is an issue, of course, because Morris Township, for example, has a COVID-19 instruction that they cannot do home inspections for the COs. So you have to sign a form agreeing that you will take care of it once that lift is lifted within 60 days. So my suggestion provide to you, so you know whether or not permits have been taken out previously at the time of the closing, to make sure that that's taken care of later on. Signing of documents is a challenge. We've seen some where a title representative would meet with the prospective buyer and mortgagor in a parking lot and exchange their paperwork through the car window, right? And sign it. I just happened to do yesterday. Someone wanted a will immediately because it was an urgent need, and the people couldn't leave their house. So what we did is I prepared the wills quickly, signed them here, met two witnesses outside of the house with a table, and the person who was ill, who was in the house, we put him on a video through our telephone so we can actually watch him sign the documents to make it legitimate. So that's kind of important with, mortgages have to be acknowledged by the attorney or the notary. So you have to come up with a way to do that. And I think people are being creative enough, to try to do it. There's proposed legislation to be able to do things remotely, but that hasn't passed yet. So you still really need a physical body and a physical contact. On some of our transactions, we've had people come in with masks, papers are laid out for them. Me or Noel, for example, would stand nearby, but not within 6 feet, and watch them sign the documents, or the title company would take them and process them. So it's challenging. The title work is getting done. Morris County is up and running, even though it's a little bit slower. So we're not running into that impediment too much, whereas other counties that are technology or staff-wise up to speed, it takes longer to get everything accomplished. The Reichert has a new form, which is a COVID-19 form that they're making part of the contract, which allows people to cancel the contract if they lose their job, for example, as a result of this epidemic. So sellers have to be aware that that's a possibility. Buyers need that kind of protection. So I think it's a good form. It's fair to both sides, but people have to come to the realization that, that these things may not happen. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I have the sense that we are, and the people we work with are making every effort to, get things done. You can't, well, I'm not a techie guy per se, but my staff who's working remotely will prepare a letter that I tell them to prepare, email it to me, I print it, then I can send it out. But most of it, and the lawyers are being very cooperative, is being done by email. So rather than spend all types of time typing up a letter saying, I've got 15 things on the attorney review or 15 things on a home inspection, they're accepting email responses directly from some of our buyers and sellers. So it's moving along. I think it's a little slower because some sellers don't want buyers in their houses with the epidemic or pandemic. They're concerned about that. They don't want buyers in the house with the home inspector. They'll just have the home inspector there. Recently, we had one where an agent thinks she has the coronavirus and waiting for test results, so she obviously can't go back, to the house to assist the buyer. So I think the challenge for all of us is just to figure out a creative way to make things happen. Like you said earlier, Ray, we want to get paid too. Bills to pay, but you want to make people happy at the same time. So that's what I have to say.
Can you tell me anything about power of attorneys? I know that there's been talk of using that to help in some situations.
Yeah, but that requires the same thing. That power of attorney has to be properly acknowledged. So if you designate somebody to act on your behalf, you have to have a specific form which authorizes that person to sign for you. And it's great for stuff like some of the simple or governmental required forms, but any document that has to be recorded has to have an acknowledgement. buyer for a mortgage. You can designate somebody else. They've got to.
I didn't. I think Bob broke up there. Ray, were you able to hear what he said?
I was not. No, not the last 10 seconds or so.
Did I answer your question?
Bob, I think you cut out a little bit for about the last 10 or 12 seconds of what you were saying about the POA.
It can be used for closings, but the document has to have an original signature and it must be notarized in the presence of that notary or the attorney. So it's not that much different than having somebody come to the office and sign and have it witnessed. So it's a tool if there's some special circumstances, but it's not really the most effective way.
Yeah, we still need witnesses, et cetera. So any other questions for Bob at this point in time? We're going to circle back also. So a couple things as it relates to title. Number one, our goal or goals have not changed one bit. My goal has always been twofold. One, to get your client into the house and the home of their dreams, and two, get you paid. So it's that we certainly have not deviated from that. To help accomplish both of those, our processing teams from our order entry, our processors, our examiners, everyone involved in the process, while our folks are working remotely, they're working 10 and 12-hour days and literally 6 and 7 days a week. It's not unusual on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday for me to receive a copy of a commitment or a binder or some communication back and forth with a lender or with one of our preferred attorneys. So take solace in knowing that we are here. We're working full speed ahead. I sent a memo to my team this morning. I saw the unemployment report for New Jersey. Unfortunately, 362,000 people in New Jersey filed for unemployment last week. I think that really brings into focus the severity of this situation. The good news is not one of them was from any of the Weichert family of companies. Now, obviously, we're all looking to do things differently, and revenues are not what they once were. But understand that, especially with the primary companies, we've been able to maintain everyone's employment, and I think that's critical. I have some contemporaries that work at other title companies, large and small. I have one that has told everyone they are not closing anything until at least May 15th. So regardless of where anybody was in the pipeline, they just said they're shutting down. I have another one that's on very shaky financial terms because they don't have the financial strength that we have here at Weichert. Being a privately held company has certain benefits to it, and one is that there's essentially one person or a group of people making the decisions, not shareholders looking for dividends on their stock holding. So that is critical. The financial strength and stability, not only of the Weichert companies as a family, but of Weichert Title is a critical component of this. We are doing things differently. There are more workarounds, as Bob said, and most of you know it. Most of the agents know that we're in communities where you cannot get a CO or we cannot verify that permit work has been completed. A typical closing is probably somewhere around 70, 75 pages of documents. It's now closer to 90. Because of many of the addendums, workarounds, hold harmless, et cetera. But we are here working. We are doing what we have to do to get you to closing. Bob mentioned about observing signatures at someone's home for a will. It's not much different with our closings. We will do everything we have to do. And first and foremost is the safety of our employees, our associates, our agents, our business partners. We are not going to put anyone at risk. If anyone is not completely comfortable, there's absolutely no obligation for them to perform any part of their job. We fortunately do have people that, and I was part of a closing last week that we did in a municipal parking lot. We had the attorney, we had the buyer, and we exchanged papers in the car. There were 3 cars in the parking lot, and we just swapped papers, watched everybody sign, and we were off to the races. So we will do whatever we have to do to get it done. A very important part, I talked to you, I mentioned to all of you about getting you paid. All commissions are being wired for the most part, especially with when they are Weichert preferred attorneys. So here's what we need from you, and I don't know if Fran is, oh, she is on the call. She has been fantastic. Fran, I can't thank you enough for all the work that you do in a normal environment, and you've been just phenomenal, and I sincerely appreciate all your help in the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. A couple of things are critical for our agents to get paid. As you can imagine, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of wires going to corporate on a regular basis now. The transaction number from OSS2, or when your report of sale, that 9-digit transaction number is the key to getting you paid. Okay, so it's critical when you provide your commission statement that the transaction number is included. I get a list every day of the closings that are going to take place in the next, usually 3 or 4 to 5 days. I have been going in manually, and so has my team, into each transaction and make sure that that transaction number is in our file, in our worksheet, and that it's been encrypted into the paperwork. We are human. We are human. We may miss one. It's certainly not done intentionally. I can also tell you that early on in the process, it was a new process, and there were a couple of road bumps. But I can tell you that this week has been much smoother. My understanding is that the commission department and corporate is processing twice a week. Jason, maybe you can address this. I think it's Mondays and Thursdays. So if we had a closing last Friday, we wire the money, it hits Friday afternoon, they reconcile and get the check out Monday. If that closing was Monday, we send the wire, it hits, they reconcile, but the checks, or when I say checks, I mean your payment, doesn't go out till Thursday, right? So if there's a lag time, that may be a part of it. I'll do a quick commercial. If you do not have direct deposit as a means of being paid your commissions, do it today. I think the large majority of our agents are already signed up for that, but no need to wait another 2 or 3 or 4 days or more for a check when you can have it direct deposited. If there's ever an issue with, you've had a closing with Weichert title, and you see more than about a 2, maybe 3 day delay, please get to me immediately. Send me an email, Ray. I closed on the Smith purchase of 123 Main Street. I haven't been paid yet. I'll do my research with my back office, make sure that wire has been sent. And again, once we get it to corporate, I don't have any control, but getting it to corporate, I can help you with, all right?
Ray, can you clarify between Weichert title, Weichert closer, or an attorney who does their own closing or hires a different closing company?
Sure, yeah, thanks, Jay. As many of you know, our closing, our settlement agents can be one of our associates, could be a third party that we employ, or it can be one of our attorneys. And in this environment, more and more of the attorneys are actually serving as the notary and settlement agent. that process still takes place. They're not cutting checks for disbursement, especially to our agents. That those are all being handled by wire. So they would still, if it's a third-party settlement agent, and many of our attorneys utilize those with regularity. There's a existing relationship, and that's been that way for a long, long time. This is not new, but they're still sending a wire, right? They're giving us the authorization that this closing has taken place. We send the wire, it gets sent to corporate, and then they disperse the funds. In that vein, most of you know, and Bob is right, we're very fortunate in Morris County. We've got a great group of folks that run the offices there, and they are pretty much up to date with technology. But a couple of things happen. In the normal, a month ago, if we had a closing, it would generally take about 4 to 6 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks for the mortgage and deed to be recorded and then sent out to the client. Okay. The offices have been closed for a month. That means when they open, if they were to open tomorrow, there's a month's worth of backlog that these folks are going to have to get recorded. So I'm thinking, and talking to one of the other county clerks not too long ago, I think we're looking at probably about 3 months from the time that this ends and they open up the government offices. It could be as much as probably 8 to 10 or 12 weeks before the documents are recorded. So they're still being sent to the clerk's office. They're just sitting there. So these folks are going to have, it's just going to be a tidal wave of documents to record. So I would, when you're working with your clients, please educate them in regard to, I mean, everybody knows what's going on, right? That offices are closed. But let them know that I would say on the outside it's probably going to be closer to 3 months before they receive their deed and their actual policy. Okay. If they ever have any questions about their title coverage, you can always direct them to me. We'll be happy to do that. One last note on the wires. Please understand, we have never and we will never charge our agents a wire fee. I was told this week numerous times that other title companies are charging our agents anywhere from $50 to $75 per transaction for a wire fee. And part of that reason is, number one, there is a fee and we will absorb it for our agents. Number two, we have a lot of title companies that are in dire financial straits. This is another revenue stream for them. So, when you put your contracts together and you're guiding your clients to an attorney, it's really critical that you guide them to one of our preferred attorneys who are going to provide the service and do all the things in this environment that need to be done. And also know that we as the title company are going to protect your client and protect you from any of these, I hope abuses are not too strong a term, but I really think it's an abuse for a title company to charge a real estate agent $75 for a wire fee. So again, we have, Bob had mentioned that we have a COVID-19 document included in all the paperwork, and all it does is really, I shouldn't say all it does, what it does is lays out the environment that we're in and some of the exceptions that are now in place because of the environment that we're in. Again, they're usually for a short period of time. It might be 30 or 60 or 90 days, but there are a lot of hoops that we know, the hoops that you're all jumping through to put these contracts together. We get it. We understand it. We're doing everything we can do to make sure we help you keep your transactions together. And that's pretty much all I have at this point. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to entertain them or direct them to our panel. If there's something specific that you have, I would encourage each of you to contact either Tim, Susan, Jason, or myself, and we'll be happy to get an answer to you. I appreciate everyone's support and working together. We will continue to keep you as informed as we can. I've been sending on a weekly basis a brochure, if you will, on some background information on how we're working through some of these obstacles, and again, the importance of using our preferred attorneys when we have mortgage insurance and Bob on a deal or Noel on a deal. We just know it's going to get done no matter what we get thrown at us. One last thing I just remembered about a couple of the other counties, and again, we're in pretty good shape in Morris County. 19 of the 21 counties in New Jersey have their records from 30 years ago forward digitized. And the large majority of the time, that is all we need. But and I had one yesterday where the current owner, the seller, purchased their house in 1960. Normally what would happen is we do a search, we see, okay, it's more than 30 years ago, and the searcher physically goes to the county office and gets whatever documents they need. Well, we can't do that now. No title company can, right? No one can obtain those documents generally from 30 years or older. So if you have a situation like that, it may cause a delay. There's some workarounds. There's also a problem when we get into inheritances and trusts and things along those lines, which are additional documents that are required. I am very fortunate. I'm knocking on wood as I say this, and I'm extremely thankful. We have not missed a closing since, in the past month, since this pandemic has hit us and the governments have shut down. We have made every closing and done everything that we can do to ensure that your client gets into the home they want and that you get paid. So, but you may be asked to help us obtain some documents. It's also critical that the seller's attorney has some skin in this game. Sometimes they can provide an owner's policy or some other documents that can help us bridge that void, that gap from the information we have to the beginning of the process, right? So know that there may be things that happen that may cause a delay in some things and getting pushed out. And then the last part of it is we have, in the last 2 weeks, we have had two things happen, which I'm very proud of. One, closings that were scheduled for the end of April or beginning of May were asked to be moved up 2 and 3 weeks, and we've been able to accommodate every one of those requests. So that's critical, right? We get to the closing. Also, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 6 attorneys who prior to 2 weeks ago wanted nothing to do with Weicker Title, and now we're having all kinds of problems with their title company, and have asked if we can help close their transactions for them. And certainly, we're more than happy to do so. Again, we want to get folks into their home. So we're very fortunate to have the strength and stability that we have. We're very fortunate to have all the partners that we have, and our most important partner is you, our agents. And please accept my gratitude, my thanks for what you do each and every day.
I have a couple of things that I was hoping to do kind of at the conclusion of this. I went through and I requested everybody turn their video on, so I kind of want to see people's faces for this. So I'm going to go through and do that again. And just wanted to, oh, there we go. People are moving. Let's see. Bev and Erica. All right. So I'll kind of start by saying I think it's I really appreciate Ray and Bob and Tim and Sue for coming out and giving us 30 minutes for us to understand what's going on and what we can do to protect our clients and protect our transactions. I'd encourage all of you to dig into any under contract file you have and make sure we are on those files. If we're not, I'd be making moves to protect yourself, to follow up on all of those things and keep your deals moving. There's always agents who are proactive and their deals always find a way to close. And there's agents who kind of let deals run themselves. And I'm sure it's no surprise when those deals don't close. So you've got to get proactive and go after those deals. The second piece, and the reason why I want to see everyone's face, I'm going to ask again. Come on, Bev, I want to see you. And Jamila, I want to see you. Megan, I want to see you. Erica, I want to see you. Lori, come on, turn it on. We all have bad hair. You got to get over it. Jim has made a huge financial commitment to providing these services. And I want a huge commitment from you guys to make sure every single one of your clients are being introduced to these services, introduced to the people that we work with every day. These partners are relying on us to connect them with our clients, and our clients are expecting a smooth transaction. So the reason I'm asking to see everyone's face, if you are committed to providing that support to our company and to our partners and to our friends and family, I want to see everyone nodding their head that they're in agreement to do that. I'm curious why some of you haven't came on, but I really appreciate that. We are doing everything we can to support each other and our company, and we just have to do it. Doesn't mean we're always going to get it, but give them the opportunity to win the business, and I can guarantee your clients are going to have the best transactions possible. I think that's all I have to say.
What happened to the sound?
I muted myself. How dare I?
If there aren't any questions, I just want to thank everyone once again. And please, most importantly, stay safe, keep your families and loved ones close, and stay safe and well. If any of us can help you in any way, even if it's just as a resource, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? If you want to raise your hand on the screen, I can unmute you if you have a question for Ray or Tim or Susan. Everybody nailed it.
Great.
All right.
All right, everybody have a great day. Thank you very much. Jason, thank you so much for your leadership.
No problem. Oh, did you have something, Gail? Was that a wave and goodbye? All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.